Well, hey everybody, welcome to Sarah Berry and Company. If this is your first time with me, I am Sarah Berry, and if you're a long timer, welcome back. I have a really fun project for us today. It's so simple, it is so budget friendly, and it is just like the perfect craft for multi-age, multi-skill level crafters. And it's perfect for the Christmas season especially. So today we are going to be making these darling little mason jar mangers. And I think the light's a little hard to see here, but it's just a quart-sized mason jar and scrap felt, scrap fabric, and some little wooden peg dolls. And we're going to make this adorable little mason jar nativity scene today. So we'll go ahead and get started. I have pre-done a few things before this video just to make it a little bit quicker for you. But if you are looking for a fun church group craft, Sunday school craft, something for a youth group, ladies' night, something to do with your kids over like one of their school breaks, this is a really quick and easy one. Like I said, it's very adaptable, it's budget friendly, and it doesn't take a lot of time, and you can order a lot of the supplies for big groups. You can order some for just small, and then I do have kits available that I'll tell you about at the end, but we'll go ahead and get started. A lot of the projects that I do kind of come from leftover stuff that I have from other craft projects, which is good. So any of you out there that have scrap pieces of fabric or felt laying around, this is going to be your craft. So I started out with just some felt, some leftover lace, actual remnants of a piece of burlap. So a lot of this stuff that you see me using, don't feel like you have to have that exact color, that exact lace. If you have something laying around, by all means, use it. It's really, really great. So the main part of this, of course, is going to be Mary and Joseph and Jesus. And look at these little tiny cute wooden peg dolls. I got these on Amazon, and I will link everything in the tutorial if you have that. I'll link it all. If not, visit sarahberryandco.com, and I have all kinds of links to tutorials and different things there as well. So you'll be able to find these in the supply list. I also have a list on Amazon if you kind of are curious about where I'm getting a lot of these supplies. So I ordered these in a bundle because I knew I'd be making kits, and several of them with my own kids and some for gifts. So I bought them in a big bag, but these are just little plain old peg dolls. And then I took my felt, and like I said, I pre-cut some of this to make this quick and easy for you. So we're going to go ahead and get started. First thing first, I'll pull these guys out of the jar. Like I said, the best thing that you're going to want to use is a wide mouth mason jar, and you'll see why here in just a second. When I pull them out of the jar, you'll see that they barely slide past the rim. So a narrow mouth one will not work with this particular design. You could modify it a little bit if that's what you have laying around. But this is a wide mouth, plain old mason jar. I do like the smooth sided, so you can see through it a lot better. But you don't have to do a jar either. If you have, actually, this would be kind of cute. Just on a lid, if you wanted to do kind of a cute little setup like that. So don't feel locked into using it in a jar if you don't want to. But this is what our cute little nativity family looks like outside the jar. So we'll go ahead and start. Let's start with Joseph. I went ahead and pre-cut a dark navy blue fabric. I almost went with brown, doesn't matter. You just kind of want to think about maybe what color some of the clothing was at the time of Jesus's birth. And I mean, maybe Joseph was wearing a red robe. I don't know, but I think it would probably be kind of more muted or drab color. So I went ahead and cut the felt to the size of what his body is here, and then cut it to where when it wraps around, it covers him just like it's a robe. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little glue and run it along this first edge and get it placed on Joseph's body. Careful to make sure that your felt is even with the bottom of the peg. If it goes below it, he's probably not going to stand up very well. Not the worst thing, but just it's a lot easier if you make sure it's level down there. And go ahead and wrap it so it's nice and even. Pinch it and open it back up Get your hot glue, and again, just glue another little bit on the end of your felt and wrap it so his little robe closes around him. There you go. Joseph has a robe on, or a tunic, or I don't know what the exact technical term was, but Joseph has his robe on. We're going to do the same thing with Mary, and you see she has a more feminine body. So I've cut the felt in more of like a dress shape for her. Again, you kind of just want to lay it around, make sure that it's going to line up correctly, and then hold one side with your fingers, run a little glue, and attach it to her body, just below her neck. And same thing, just make sure it fits all the way around. Open it up, bring your hot glue, and run a bead right along the side here, and then close up her little robe or her gown or dress or tunic or whatever it is that she's wearing. Okay, so this is what Mary now looks like. Got hers on. Now, on that step, you notice I'm using hot glue. My hot glue gun is also listed in my Amazon shop. I love this one because it has a precision tip. And when you're doing small scale projects like this, I love the skinnier tip because you can get into small spaces. However, if you're doing this with kids, Elmer's glue will work just fine. Of course, it's going to increase your drying time a little bit, and maybe you end up doing this throughout the Christmas season and you build one doll at each Sunday school class or each gathering. So just, again, it's adaptable. Do it how you see fit. So next thing, look at our cute little tiny baby Jesus. I think he's only like about an inch tall, and he is adorable. And what I have taken is literally a scrap of paint drop cloth. It's a linen, and it's really soft, plain old cotton, and you'll see where I cut it and kind of fringe the edges. And all you have to do when you cut it, it'll leave these little loose pieces. You can pull them apart. Again, think about, you know, he was wrapped in swaddling clothes, which was not a fancy onesie or something that you'd see at a baby shower for sure. So I wanted this to have a little bit worn in kind of rag, swaddling clothes kind of appearance. So we're going to do just like we would do with a baby. We're going to lay him in his little blanket, and you want his head kind of at the top as a diamond shape. And I'm going to put just a little dot of hot glue to lay him in. Okay. And then just like a baby burrito, we're going to wrap Jesus up. So we'll bring up the bottom, and you'll kind of, this is kind of hard to see, but I'm just wrapping him. So he's all nice and swaddled. I'll turn it around here in a second. Okay, there's our baby Jesus. He's just darling. This little tiny peg doll is so cute. So open up a couple of the edges and stick your hot glue in. Again, be careful, don't burn yourself on this step. And then just wrap him up nice and tight. Okay, and hold it for just a second, let it set up. Here's our little baby Jesus again. I hope you can see this. Okay, now baby Jesus has his little blankie on. Okay, next thing we're gonna do, we'll come back to Joseph, and we're gonna put his head covering on. So a lot of this is just kind of fit it on and make sure it looks good. You want the edges of this to be even across the bottom. And once you have it kind of fit, let go of one hand and come over the top with just a little bit of glue to secure the top part in place. Okay, and his head's going to be kind of center. You see how that works? Kind of centered on this piece of burlap. Again, it was a scrap that I had out in my garage. Now I'm going to just add a little bit of glue down the side of his body to stick that wrap on there. And this is probably not necessary. You could probably skip this step, but I do just like to make sure everything is nice and secure. Okay, he has his head covering on. Okay, next thing, we're going to do the same thing with Mary. I went a little bit more feminine with her. I had a piece of scrap lace. You could also use like a real thin cheesecloth or muslin or something kind of off-white in color. Like I said, I just had this and it felt really feminine, so we're going to go with this with Mary. Okay, same thing, place it over the peg doll so it's kind of even, half and half. And it looks like now she has a little shroud. So I'm going to just sneak my hot glue gun in there and tack it on her head. Same thing, see her head is kind of dead center in between the lace. I'm going to come down the body, just a little bit of glue, and bring the side down, just like that, and flip her over, do the same thing on this side, and tack that down. Okay, now she has her cute little head covering. So the only thing that differentiates really the front from the back is the little dress seam that's down the back. So obviously kind of pay attention to that as you're putting these together. Okay, next thing, Joseph needs a belt, right? Look at how cute. See, he's got this little knotted belt. So we're gonna take our Joseph. Again, here is the seam for his robe. I'm gonna lay him just down right here on the counter and tie on a little belt. And go ahead and just do one knot and then come back and do like a square knot or a double knot, just like that. And then once you kind of have it positioned the way you like, the only thing I want to tell you on this step is leave it just a teeny bit loose because he's going to have a shepherd's hook that we're going to slide into his belt. So you can kind of see how that fits right inside his belt. So let me give myself just a little bit of room, and then I'm going to come in with my scissors and trim off just a little bit of the excess. And there's Joseph with his belt. So next thing, we'll give him his shepherd's hook. There's just about a 4-inch piece of floral wrapped wire that I use. Again, use what you have laying around. You could use a pipe cleaner for this part. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but I'm just going to take the top here and bend it over so it has a cute little crook, just like a sheep herder's hook. Okay, and then we're going to slide that right inside his belt. Trim just a little bit of the fuzz that is on the edge. Okay, I'll turn it around. There, now he has his hook. Are these not the cutest little things? Okay, Joseph is ready. All right, Mary, now we're going to give her a little bit of a tie around her neck to keep her little headpiece in place. Same thing, lay her right down on the cabinet or the work surface in front of you. Take your piece of twine and tie it so it closes around her neck. And then take your twine and tie a little bow, or you can do just a double knot again, whatever you want. Again, I want Mary to look a little more feminine, so I'm going to tie just a little tiny bow right under her neck, and then come back in and we'll trim off the excess twine. Okay, here's our Mary. Isn't she cute? Okay, Mary and Joseph ready to go. They are finished. All right, so next thing, let's stick them together. See if my camera's going to focus again here. There we go. Okay, so I want them very close together, making sure that the bottoms are level. See where that spot level? So get a pretty decent amount of glue where you want them to be joined and just put it on one or the other. And this part, you may actually want to stand them together just like this. Make sure that they're facing kind of forward. You could probably even kind of turn them inward just a tiny bit so they're looking at each other. Okay, so see how it's nice and level? Let's get my camera to focus again. Maybe. Okay, there we have our Mary and Joseph. Okay. Next thing, we're going to take baby Jesus and figure out how we want him positioned. So I want it to look like Mary is kind of holding him between the two of them. So take baby Jesus and a little bit of glue on his back. And be fairly generous. And you probably want to let these set up before you do this, but I'm not going to stand here and make you literally watch glue dry. But I'm going to position him right on the front of Mary, with his head kind of focused near Joseph. You see that? And give me just a second, I'll hold baby Jesus so he doesn't fall. Just make sure they're nice and joined. I'm so sorry. I don't know why this will not focus. There. I have quite a setup here. I have a laptop in front of me and the camera right here. It's pretty high tech around here, let me tell you. Okay, so I think while they're setting up, I'm going to just lay them just like this so Jesus stays there. All right, so wide mouth mason jar. I had this as an extra that I thought was kind of pretty. So for this project, I'm going to use it. It is also a wide mouth quart size, but it has this pretty, I guess it has some flat spaces around it that I thought this will be kind of cool. So you get your jar open. This is called Excelsior grass, and it reminds me of that Christmas song, like In Excelsis Deo, or whatever that phrase is. So now I kind of have it stuck in my head. I will not sing for you today though, but you want to take just a small pinch of this, not too much. And this is going to signify probably what some of the ground looked like in the actual manger on the night that Jesus was born. So go ahead and put a little of that in the bottom. And again, you don't have to do this. If you have raffia laying around or something else that you want to use, feel free to use anything that you have on hand. You could put like white beans or basket filler. Let's see, what else could you put? Moss, if you wanted to do that. Like I said, I like the Excelsior grass or raffia because it kind of looks like straw or hay. So that goes in there. Okay, now on the top of this jar, doesn't look pretty, but it works really great. We are going to put these cute little fairy lights, and I'll turn them on. They're just those rice lights or fairy lights, and they come in a long string. So what I have done is wound them up. See where it just goes around and around, and I've glued it to the inside of the lid. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So unwind them. They'll probably come in kind of a little bit of a ball, but just unwind them. And then take like your probably 3 fingers or 4 fingers, depending on how large your hands are, and wrap them around just until it's all wound together. Okay. Including this part that doesn't have any lights. Wind it all up. So you have kind of a loop like this, okay? So wind this through the loop a couple of times so it doesn't come undone. You can do the same thing with the last bit. This is really just to keep the wires from unraveling. If you have a better way of lighting the inside of the jar, by all means do it. I have these on hand. These will also be inside the kits, but this is how I'm going to do that. So get that ready. And the key is this loop cannot be larger than the size of your lid because it's going to get glued in like this, okay? So now that we have that, we of course are going to add the famous star in the nativity. Do you see that? It's a little star, and all I have done is taken a wooden star with a little bit of glue and sprinkled some gold glitter, excuse me, gold glitter on it. The kits will come with the star already glittered for you, but you may prefer just the plain wood. But I wanted that kind of starlight sparkle kind of look about it. So next thing is we're going to take just a little piece of wire. This is probably 6 inches or so. It does not have to be this. None of this is an exact science. You may decide you want to glue yours on the outside of the jar, on the inside back of the jar. Again, this is just my preference. But this is kind of the look we're going for, where the star hangs down. Can you guys see that? Because then it will hang just above Joseph and Mary inside the jar. Okay, so take just a little dot of hot glue on the back side of the star and lay your wire into that. And you got to give it a minute to set up. I probably should have done this part ahead of time so you don't have to watch this whole thing. Okay, we'll give it just a second to do what it's doing here. While that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and put our little family inside the jar. So make sure Joseph's hook is kind of tucked in when you do this. You'll see this is why having that wide mouth is so important. And just tuck them all in. You may decide you want to actually glue everybody down into the jar. I don't plan on moving my jar around a lot. My boys put theirs inside. I have just a little piece of fuzz I'm cutting. These lights come with a timer on them. Some of them do, some of them don't. and they wanted them as night lights in their room during the Christmas season. So theirs got jostled around, but really the family stayed upright the whole time. So you don't have to glue it, but this is what they look like when they get put into the jar. Okay. All right, next thing. Now take your wire and just wind it around your finger just to make a little spring like this. See how that looks? Okay. And then leave yourself just a little bit of the straight piece right here. See that? That we will glue on to the lid so it sticks up like this, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit of glue and glue our star down. Little trick, use your scissors if you need to kind of hold that in place. Make sure that it's somewhat central on the part of the lid. It doesn't have to be perfect because the reason we have that spring is we're going to move the star. So first of all, it doesn't hit the family in the top of the head, but then it can be adjusted up or down to fit. So that probably needs just another second, but I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Okay, next thing, bring your lights with your loop and slide it down over the star. And then leave yourself enough room to glue. Actually, we might do this in a different order. We're going to go ahead and lay the battery pack down first. Put a little bit of glue. Now notice there's a hinge here. I'm going to see if I can open this. Maybe. This pops open right here where the battery goes. You don't want to glue that lid part to this lid because then you won't be able to swap the battery. So make sure you do the bottom side, put just a tiny bit of glue on that and glue it in about the same place where you glued your star. Give that just a second. And then the lights go down over the star. And just make sure everything's nice and in place. Okay, and then you can come in with a little bit of glue and just tack those wires. Don't glue the part that has a light bulb on it, of course, but you can glue it in a couple places to just keep it all wound up and not moving around too much. The good thing about these little fairy lights is they are metal wires, so they are very easily bent and moved around to fit inside your jar and kind of around your little mason jar family. Okay, when you're tacking this down, make sure you can still reach the little lever to turn your lights on and off. And you may decide you don't want lights at all, and that's okay. That would make it a lot simpler, but I like it with the lights. So once you have everything stuck, last thing that happens is make sure that they're all positioned really well. And put this in so the glitter part of the star faces forward and kind of test it out. And the star is just a little bit low. It's bumping them on the head. So I'm going to pull this out again. I'm going to scrunch it higher. So see, it sticks down about an inch. Just kind of play with it. Okay, that looks good to me. Do you guys see where the star is? Sorry, the windows in my kitchen are a little reflective. Okay, we're in the home stretch. Last thing that you want to do is add a cute fabric circle. This also is totally up to you. The kit does not come with this part. You can pick whatever kind of fabric you want. I just happen to have the blue stars, and I just thought that seemed like a night sky. So cut a circle that's probably about an inch to inch and a half wider on each side of the lid. So, and then center that and put your ring on and tighten it down. And that is it, you guys. Look at our darling little family. I'm gonna walk around here so you can get an even closer view of just how cute they are. Do you see that? You can see the lights on in there and the little star above their head. It is such a cute thing at nighttime because it's just this really beautiful, here I'll kind of block that a little bit, glow over the mason jar family. So easy craft, very inexpensive, good for kids, good for adults, perfect for the Christmas season. If you're looking for a really easy neighbor gift or teacher's gift or something like that, I really recommend this one. It's very easy to do. So make sure you're following me. Go to sarahberryandco.com. Get on my email list. That's where I notify all my VIPs of when my new projects are out. Make sure you're following me on YouTube at Sarah Berry and Company. And berry is just like the strawberry, B-E-R-R-Y. So make sure you're following me over there. And I hope that I see you for the next one. So until then, have a great Christmas season. Merry Christmas to all of you. And stay creative, friends. We'll see you the next time.